Uber is worth approximately $150 billion, and it owns almost no cars, employs almost no drivers, builds almost no physical infrastructure. And when Jake opens the Uber app on a Tuesday morning and a driver appears at his door 4 minutes later, Uber has not moved a single vehicle, has not dispatched a single employee, has not consumed a single gallon of fuel. It has executed a matching algorithm that connected Jake's demand for transportation with a nearby driver's supply of it, and kept approximately 25 to 30 cents of every dollar Jake paid for doing exactly that and nothing else. And that 25 to 30 cents multiplied across 28 million rides per day in more than 70 countries, across 150 million monthly active riders, generates $3.8 billion in annual profit from a company that, when it went public in 2019 at an $82 billion valuation, lost $8.5 billion in a single year. Today, I'm going to decode the most elegant, the most controversial, and the most economically instructive business model in the history of the technology industry. The marketplace economics that own nothing and earn everything. Here is the fundamental economic insight that made Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp worth billions. And that explains why Uber's business model is simultaneously the most capital efficient and the most fragile in Silicon Valley. A marketplace does not need to own the supply of the product it sells. It needs only to connect buyers and sellers and take a percentage of the transaction value for providing that connection. Airbnb does not own hotels. It connects people who have rooms with people who need them. eBay does not own inventory. It connects sellers with buyers. And Uber does not own cars or employ drivers. It connects people who need rides with people who have cars and time to provide them. The economic consequence of this structure is extraordinary. A traditional taxi company adding one more car to its fleet spends approximately $30,000 to $50,000 on the vehicle, pays for insurance, maintenance, fuel, a licensed driver, and administrative overhead, and earns revenue from that single vehicle for as long as the vehicle operates. Uber, adding one more driver to its platform, spends $0 on the vehicle, $0 on maintenance or fuel, and earns 25 to 30% of every fare that driver generates, indefinitely, with no capital expenditure. And this is why marketplace economics produce the highest returns on capital in the history of commerce, and why every major technology company of the last 20 years has attempted to build one. The network effect flywheel that creates the moat. Here is the economic mechanism that makes Uber's market position difficult to displace, even after 15 years. And even with competitors like Lyft spending billions to challenge it, the network effect, as Uber adds more drivers to a city, the average wait time for riders decreases, shorter wait times attract more riders means more trips per driver per hour, more income per driver attracts more drivers to sign up, which further decreases wait times, which attracts more riders. The flywheel accelerates, and at sufficient density, this network effect creates a defensible competitive position that a new entrant cannot overcome without providing significantly more value at significantly lower cost. Lyft has been operating in the United States ride-sharing market since 2012, has spent billions of dollars on driver incentives, rider promotions, and technology development, and controls approximately 30% of the US market in 2026, against Uber's approximately 70%. Not because Lyft is inferior, but because Uber's network effect, Head Start, created a density advantage in most cities that Lyft cannot fully overcome, regardless of how much it spends. The surge pricing economics that everyone hates and nobody understands. Here's the most controversial innovation in the history of consumer technology, and the one that reveals most clearly how Uber's economics actually work at the operational level. Surge pricing, the practice of automatically increasing prices when demand for rides exceeds the supply of available drivers, is the mechanism by which Uber balances supply and demand in real time, without employing a single driver or dispatching a single central controller. When everyone leaves a concert at 10 p.m. and needs a ride simultaneously, demand for rides spikes instantaneously. If prices remain flat, every available driver would be matched immediately, and the remaining demand would go unserved. Surge pricing does two things simultaneously. It increases the price for riders, which reduces demand from people whose need is less urgent, and it increases the income per hour for drivers, which brings more drivers online. Cars that were parked in garages begin moving toward the area. Drivers who were considering stopping work for the night decide to do one more hour, and supply increases to meet the elevated demand. The economic criticism of surge pricing is real and legitimate. It is regressive, meaning it's disproportionately burdens lower income riders who cannot afford to wait and cannot afford to pay double. But the economic defense is equally legitimate. It is the most efficient allocation mechanism ever applied to urban transportation, and it works without a single human making a single dispatch decision. The driver economics that drive the controversy. Here's where Uber's business model has generated the most sustained legal and political challenge, and where the economics produce the most complex and contentious outcomes for the people who deliver the service. Uber drivers are classified as independent contractors, not employees, which means Uber does not pay for their vehicle, their fuel, their maintenance, their insurance above a basic coverage level, their health insurance, their retirement contributions, or any of the employment benefits that American workers typically receive from an employer. This classification produces the unit economics that make Uber's business model work. If Uber's 5.4 million global drivers were employees with full benefits, the cost structure would destroy the marketplace economics entirely. But the UK Supreme Court in 2021 ruled that Uber drivers in the UK are workers with entitlement to minimum wage, paid leave, and pension contributions. California passed AB 5 attempting to reclassify gig workers as employees. Uber and Lyft spent over $200 million on Proposition 22 to create an exception for app-based drivers, and won, but the legal battles continue in multiple jurisdictions. And the economic outcome of those battles, whether gig workers are ultimately classified as independent contractors or employees globally, is the single most important economic variable in Uber's long-term financial model. The Uber Eats economics that saved the company. Here's the business that was an afterthought in 2015, and that kept Uber alive through the most devastating period in its history. Uber Eats launched in 2014 as a feature within the main Uber app, and grew steadily but was not strategically central until March 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic eliminated ride-sharing demand almost overnight. In 2020, Uber's ride-sharing gross bookings fell by approximately 40%, while Uber Eats gross bookings more than doubled, from approximately $14 billion to approximately $30 billion. And the economics of food delivery, while less favorable than ride-sharing, were sufficient to keep the company funded through the pandemic. Uber Eats takes approximately 15 to 30% commission from restaurants, charges delivery fees of $2 to $8 from consumers, and pays drivers approximately $3 to $8 per delivery. The net unit economics are thin, particularly in markets where food delivery competition is intense, but the platform learning from managing millions of daily food deliveries, the driver network optimization, and the consumer habit formation around the Uber app as a broader services platform have made Uber Eats strategically essential, even in markets where its unit economics are marginal. The autonomous vehicle threat that changes everything. Here's the economic development that poses the greatest long-term challenge to Uber's business model, and that Uber's management team thinks about more than any other single competitive threat: autonomous vehicles. Waymo, the autonomous vehicle subsidiary of Alphabet, is currently operating fully driverless robotaxi services in San Francisco, Phoenix, and Austin, charging prices comparable to Uber, and expanding its operational area. And the economic implications for Uber are simultaneously terrifying and potentially transformative. If autonomous vehicles reach the scale, reliability, and cost economics required to replace human drivers across Uber's network, Uber's competitive moat, the driver network built over 15 years, becomes worthless, because autonomous vehicles do not need to be recruited, incentivized, or retained. They just operate. But Uber's strategic response to this threat, rather than ignoring it or fighting it, is to position itself as the marketplace that autonomous vehicles operate on. Uber has signed partnerships with Waymo, with BYD for autonomous EVs, and with multiple autonomous vehicle developers to integrate their robo-taxis into the Uber app, so that a rider requesting an Uber might be matched with a Waymo autonomous vehicle, and Uber still collects its 25 to 30% marketplace fee, without the complexity of managing human drivers. If this strategy succeeds, autonomous vehicles eliminate Uber's biggest cost and regulatory headache, and make Uber more profitable rather than obsolete, the complete profitability journey. Here's the financial arc that is the defining economic story of Uber as a company. From 2010 to 2019, Uber raised approximately $24 billion in private capital and used it to subsidize rides and driver incentives aggressively across every market it entered, offering rides at below-cost prices to acquire riders, offering above-market bonuses to acquire drivers, and burning through investor capital at a rate that no profitable business could sustain. The 2019 IPO at $82 billion valuation with $8.5 billion in losses that year, was the moment of maximum investor skepticism, when the question of whether Uber would ever be profitable became genuinely uncertain. The answer arrived in 2023, Uber's first full year of GAAP profitability, and 2024 delivered $3.8 billion in net income, on approximately $140 billion in gross bookings, and a take rate of approximately 26%, generating $37 billion in revenue. Jake closes the Uber app after his 4-minute wait, gets into the car, and for the rest of the journey, he is inside the economics of a matching algorithm that owns nothing, employs no one, and earns approximately 27 cents of every dollar he spends, multiplied by 28 million times today. All over the world, you have been decoded. If this video made you think about Uber, about marketplace economics, about the gig economy, and about what a taxi company for the 21st century actually is, subscribe to Money Decoder 3004. Every single week, we decode the economics of the technology platforms and systems that shape every American's daily life. Simply, honestly, and clearly, drop a comment below. Do you think Uber drivers should be classified as employees or independent contractors? Tell me honestly. I read every single comment, and I will see you in the next decode.